Hey everyone, it's Jonathan, and welcome back to Every Version Ever. Today we're continuing our series with Nicki from Trivial Theater, talking about the worst animated versions of Alice in Wonderland. This third episode is actually a movie I've reviewed before, and I hated it. This is What's the Matter with Hatter, and it was one of the worst versions of Alice in Wonderland that I had ever seen. It was so bad that when I wanted to make a Wonderland Wednesday episode about it, I just reviewed it alone because I didn't want to subject Sarah, or anyone else for that matter, to how bad this one was. But that was before I met Nicki. She actually likes reviewing terrible movies, and she's slowly bringing me around to her way of thinking. I don't feel like I've gotten to the point where I actually like watching bad movies yet, but we've definitely got to the point where I enjoy talking about bad movies. Like I said in the first episode of this miniseries, sometime around the time I had Nicki on my channel to talk about those Alice-related PSAs, I remembered this movie, as well as the one we'll be covering next week, and I thought that since Nicki seemed to enjoy tragically bad movies, maybe I could talk her into reviewing these with me. If I could talk about them with her, maybe they would be worth revisiting. But only if I was talking about them with her. I can't imagine any other scenario where I would willingly watch this or next week's again. Thankfully she agreed, because despite how terrible this movie is, it was a lot of fun to talk about it with her.
There's nothing we can do, you will see. So come over, let's go there. Just believe in yourself. When we dream, there's more to life than our eyes see. In this wonderland we believe. Everything's beautifully
Well, I guess we can move on to the two that launched this whole idea.
It's the face that sailed 1,000 ships. The face that launched 1,000 ships. Getting my metaphors mixed there.
All depends on which version you're talking about, but there are some terrible faces in both of these.
Yeah.
Let's start with What's the Matter with Hatter?
Yeah. I mean, at least with the 5-minute one, you can say that, things were generic, but they were at least decently generic. Like they were good looking generic.
Mm-hmm.
Like things got kind of weird with the other 40-minute one. But God,
Yeah.
they get so weird in this one.
Yeah. This one, it's like they took the very, very basic idea of Alice in Wonderland and then just dumped a whole ton of random other stuff into it. And it's almost unrecognizable.
Yeah.
Except for like some character names.
Yeah. That some of them, I mean, the one thing you can say about every one of these, they took the same base idea and they did do their own thing with it. They made it their own. And you get four very, by and large, different interpretations, whether that be through the graphic side or through the audio side.
Mm-hmm.
But
this one is the most different graphics-wise.
Yeah.
This one is CGI. The others are all 2D animation. And this is just so bad. It's like plastic characters. Like, I've seen a couple of Barbie movies, and Barbie movies are so much better than this, and I think they were made before this.
Agreed.
I feel like this has no excuse for as bad as it looks.
Probably not. Although, like the animation wise, I think it does sit on the same level. As we were talking about with that last one, I think it does sit on the animation level of like a Little Panda Fighter or the Ratatouille. I think it does that. It has that same level of 2D or 3D animation, where there's someone that had a basic idea of how to program 3D animation.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot above that. It's just that little tiny bit above it, like base level. So, like I look at Alice's hair and oh my God, like it doesn't move. It's like, a little over her shoulders. Like she could be, bent over 100% forward, laying down, and it would still be the exact same, like helmet of hair.
It's like a Lego piece.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it totally is. I never thought of that. But yeah, that is, oh my God, that's totally right on. Holy crap. And like her little apron thing, there's no like belt part of it, or there's no part that goes around her waist. It's just like on the front.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. That's terrible.
And like when she has like the mirror, she sticks it like inside the apron, and it's like a giant kangaroo pocket.
Maybe they think that that's what aprons are.
I don't even know. Oh my god.
Oh, wow.
Oh god. And I am curious. So they kept referring to like the dog is named Jabberwock. Is it
Yeah.
Jabberwock or is it Jabberwocky? I always thought it was like the creature from Alice in Wonderland. Isn't that Jabberwocky?
I think I don't remember for sure, but I think the poem is Jabberwocky and the creature was a Jabberwock.
Ah, okay. That might be where I'm screwing up.
But yeah, that was another thing that they just made up because she didn't have a dog. She had a cat named Dinah, and Dinah did not go to Wonderland with her. But in this one, the dog is who's chasing the rabbit, and that's why ends up in Wonderland because she's trying to get her dog back.
Makes sense or something, I guess. I mean, again, I guess it was that one thing that they added that made it their own, but
Hmm. They had more than one thing to make this one their own.
that they did. That they did. When she's fallen down the hole, I was so it was I don't know why it struck me as so strange, but like everything about her descent, it just I don't know. I can't describe it. It was just so weird.
Yeah, and also the fact that she's joined by the creepiest Cheshire cat ever.
Yeah. It oh
there's
my
there's
god.
an old 1930s version of Alice in Wonderland that it has a creepy Cheshire cat, but I feel like this one puts that one almost to shame because that one was just a guy in a really ugly suit. This is just like bizarre in the worst possible way.
Yeah, and the places that it shows up, it's like he shows up in the back of random shots without there's no reason for him to be there. He's just like, oh, hey, we've got an open spot. We need to throw something in there. Let's throw the Cheshire Cat because reasons.
Yeah, the Cheshire Cat is not a character who appears throughout the entire story. He has a couple scenes that are his scenes in the story, and that's where he's supposed to be. And this is like he's a main character. He just keeps coming back.
Yeah.
And you don't want him to because he's so. Like, I feel like he could traumatize a child. He's so
Oh, yeah.
ugly.
Oh, yeah. Well, especially when it's just the teeth, like
Oh,
that part
yeah.
of it.
Because the
What?
gums are still attached.
Yeah. Oh, my
So
God.
gross.
Yeah. Well, I would rather see, like there's those kind of like goth nightmare versions of the Cheshire Cat. Like I would rather see that than this
Yeah,
version of the Cheshire Cat.
I think I would agree with that. Like,
But
because
look
those
at
are like creepy on purpose. That's like, there's aesthetic reasons for them to look the way they do.
oh
This
yeah.
is just creepy accidentally, which makes it worse.
Well, I'm glad we've come to a consensus about what's worse, intentionally creepy or unintentionally creepy.
One will probably traumatize more children because parents were more likely to show it to them.
Oh yeah, without doubt. The other thing that kind of, and I've just got a still of it up right now, and I can't think of what the character's name, but there was like a character in Thundercats, like the 1980s Thundercats, and he's like a little helper guy.
I know who you're talking about. It now that's gonna drive me crazy because I
Do you mind if I look it up quick?
that's fine. I should
Okay, give
know
me
it.
just a
I've
second.
I haven't seen the 1980s one, but I've seen the 2011 one, and I think they had the same character there too. Just Snarf,
Yes, yes, that's it.
Snarf.
That's it. Like that right there is like Snarf's like less cool cousin.
But he's really trying to be cool because with that voice, you can tell that they're also going for like a cool cat vibe,
Oh
and
yeah.
it is not working.
Well, and you look at, and again, I think this came out in 2007, so I'm pretty sure it preceded like the Burton Alice in Wonderland movies.
Hmm.
But like it did always have that kind of a, a jazz, not jazzy, but like that kind of a like chill lounge guy vibe, just that like the always cool guy. That's always since even, and I think probably even a little bit in Disney's, like the animated Disney movie, he did always have that little bit of a more slick, cool guy vibe.
Maybe. I never really thought about it like that. But this one, it seems to like be intentionally playing that up to a bad degree.
Agreed. Oh, fun a bit of trivia on this version. When they get to the door room, the doorknob that actually speaks was a direct rip off from Disney of the door frame from there, or the doorknob from there.
Yeah, I was going to mention that because that was a Disney original character. Like that there are no talking doorknobs in the story. There aren't any in other versions. Only Disney's, and they just stole that.
Yep. Oh, it was an outright rip off.
Another thing that they put their own spin on is the thing that makes her grow and shrink is not eating things. She has a magic mirror
Oh
for
yeah.
some reason. I don't know why. It's just like give her a mirror like Beauty and the Beast, except instead of seeing other people, she sees herself as a different size and then becomes that size.
Oh yeah, that
Okay.
was, and the descript or the reasoning behind it, a mic or a magnifying glass versus a looking glass.
But
So
those are
weird.
two completely different things.
Oh yeah. Well, that doesn't make a difference here. I mean, look at the size of Cheshire Cat's teeth compared to the rest of his
Ugh,
body. In real life,
yeah.
he would topple over forward because his teeth probably are half his body weight.
They probably are.
But that is going to haunt my nightmares, I'm telling you.
I don't really blame you. They are really
Yeah.
awful.
What did you think of the vast array of puns and how terrible they were?
They're annoying. Like, I can appreciate a clever pun, but when it's just puns because they think they're being hilarious and they're just not, it's just painful.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. Oof. And they're everywhere. Like I'm a huge fan of puns, but this version, I never want to do another pun again after watching this. You have put me you this whole experience has put me off puns, and that's saying something.
Uh, yeah. Like, there are ways to do puns that I can appreciate that I think are clever, but this ain't it.
Yeah. Well, and with this version and the other 40-minute version that we watched, they felt it seemed like they felt the need to describe everything in excruciating detail. Like there
Hmm.
was no letting the story do its thing. It's like, oh, did you know that this is the Cheshire Cat and he disappears and sometimes leaves his head? Can you believe that he leaves his head behind? How does he do? It's that level of just explanation.
There was another scene like that towards the end of this one during the courtroom scene where, because they actually do have the tarts in their own weird way, which they do their own bad spin on, but the tarts are a thing in this one, which they should be, but they're delivered by a kangaroo. I was like, oh, that's kind of clever. They did like a kangaroo court pun
Mm-hmm.
thing, and then they just say it. And I'm
Yep.
like, you couldn't just let it be a clever thing for people to notice. You had to like actually point it out and say, hey, look, kangaroo court.
Oh, it gets even worse than that. It's like every single time the queen talks about, making a decision, they're like, "Oh, well, it's not going to matter anyway." I think they probably referenced that 3 or 4 times over the course of that like 6-minute segment, or however long the courtroom scene is.
It was too long for sure.
Yeah.
There was a lot of scenes in this one that were so long.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was it was it felt that full 45 minutes. There's no doubt.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
Because after this, after the Hall of Mirrors, she ends up outside in a swamp because apparently her tears turned into a swamp in this version. And this is where you meet the Mad Hatter, and he
Oh
does
god.
a dance to this insipid song, and it just goes on forever.
Oh my God. I timed it. It was only 2 minutes long. It felt like it was at
What?
least six. Yeah.
Felt so long.
Oh, I know.
Only 2 minutes.
it was such a crappy song. Like I didn't know that you could make music that, I mean, and obviously there's a lot of bad music, but my God, yeah, it felt so long.
It
And
was like they were trying to do like a Disney-esque song, but they didn't bother hiring an actual songwriter. Like, I could do it myself. Anybody can do that. And then they didn't do any rewrites. They just went with the first draft.
oh yeah, definitely. That's for sure. They kind of did again with like the Burton um Alice in Wonderland thing of making the Mad Hatter kind of a main character. He looked like a basic just bargain bin Disney prince. And the tea
Except with
time
bad
powers.
hair.
Yeah, exactly. And the kind of tea time powers he had, like it makes me think that he needs to be the next great superhero because of all the stuff he could do with tea-based things.
The character of the Mad Hatter was so weird.
Oh yeah.
Because, like, what is his point? Like, who is he? Like, he was just there. I don't know why he was there. Like, he was he like supposed to be a love interest? Because it felt like they were going for him being like an attractive young guy.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
and later he was like flirting with old ladies, which was weird.
Yeah, I that's all I can get from it was they were trying to like play up that character again. I almost think they were going for and I would have to look up when the Burton Alice in Wonderland came out. But that's kind of
2010.
what it felt like. Oh, 2010. Okay.
Yeah, this is 3 years before that.
Wow. So maybe Disney ripped off these guys.
This is not even the same type of thing because it was weird in a totally different way. It
Yeah.
was just, and then you have the title too. Like, what's the matter with Hatter? What was the point of that title?
No,
Like,
there
what was
wasn't
the
one.
matter with Hatter?
Yeah,
Like,
there wasn't any point to it. It didn't serve any purpose other than, again, the Mad Hatter was kind of, it rhymed and they made the Mad Hatter kind of a main character with powers beyond, normal Mad Hatters.
yeah, but they still titled it like there was going to be some issue with him, and
Yeah.
the only issue was that he was just like weirdly flirty.
Yes, and he sang terribly. Maybe his problem was he was just a terrible singer.
Maybe.
And he kind of like in you mentioned in the other version or the other 40-minute version, the Cheshire Cat showed up in a lot of places. He played the Mad Hatter. He was kind of like Alice's advocate throughout the entire movie. That's kind of what the Mad Hatter was in this one.
Maybe. But the Cheshire Cat was doing that too.
True. Yeah, that is true. Yeah. What did you think of the Cloud King Bear?
Where did that come from? Like, what's the point of him? Like,
I
that's not even a thing in the books. Like, there's not even anything from the books that could have inspired him.
Yeah, he's kind of like the frog.
Yeah. He was just a random character that decided to make up and throw in the movie.
The only thing I can pull from that specifically is like you look at the whimsy of the characters of Alice in Wonderland, and the Cloud King Bear could have existed in that universe, but the way that it's done is so off-putting and just kind of weird.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. And I mean, the guy didn't even know how to use scissors. I really doubt his scissors skills. I don't know.
It was just confusing as to what his point was.
Yeah. He had some terrible puns too, like I don't always have my head in the clouds. What the hell? What the hell is that?
It's one of those things where they think that they're being hilarious. Like, they
Yeah.
think that kids are going to find this hilarious. Well, I
It's
can just
whimsical and
imagine.
weird.
I can just imagine kids staring at the screen blankly, like, what?
Yeah, this one strikes me as one that was pitched as being whimsically fun, and anything that's described as whimsically fun is never going to turn out well.
Yeah.
That does bring up another thing. So like they had, obviously you don't have to have humans playing all the roles. Like you can use animals and make it effective.
Hmm.
Like Tweedledee and Tweedledum were moose. You had the Sky King or the Cloud King bear. You had the Queen of Hearts was I think a lion or some kind of cat.
I think they were supposed to be a pair of lions. The queen and king were both lions.
Hmm. Okay.
Duchess was a goat. The cards were wolves and sheep for some reason.
Yeah, what was with that? That was so weird. Like when they did the croquet wickets, all I could think was, yeah, that putting two people together isn't as cool as like having a card bend over backwards and become a wicket. I
Yeah.
And then they had the dormouse as the croquet
Yeah.
ball as compared to a hedgehog.
Yeah. That that's so weird. It was like they needed to fit the dormouse into the story somehow, so let's just replace the hedgehog with the dormouse. But then like you don't give the March Hare the same luxury of being included.
Yeah.
So
Or
like the Dormouse isn't even one of the most memorable characters for like the average person. Like I don't think you if somebody were to ask some random person on the street, name me five characters from Alice in Wonderland, I don't think the Dormouse would ever be in there. So like
no.
why did they feel like he was such an essential character that they had to replace the hedgehog with the Dormouse just to get him in the story?
Oh yeah. And I'm pretty sure a dormouse doesn't roll that way where they can roll into a ball as well as a hedgehog can.
No, and like if you look at the scene where he's like rolled up, it's like he's a perfect sphere, just like with little dents where his like arms and legs are. It
Yeah.
was really weird.
And yes, like you say, the characters there that would fit. I mean, the caterpillar would be more memorable than the dormouse, and I don't know. There was some odd decisions.
Well, speaking of odd decisions, like to get to the castle, they have wings. Like the Mad Hatter has wings in his hat that attach themselves to their bodies, and now they can fly. And then they had that whole really long scene of them flying through the clouds that felt like it took forever. But
Yep.
if it's anything like the other scene, it probably was only like a minute.
Yeah,
But it felt like
exactly.
5 minutes, just randomly flying through the clouds for no reason.
Well, and again, I could see it as being something that could possibly happen in Wonderland. Like things of that nature could happen. Like, it kind of fits the universe, but there's no precedent for it. There's no base for any of that.
Hmm.
I understand trying to make it your own thing, but you can do that and still hold on to stuff that made the original good.
Yeah, it's. I don't know where they got that idea, but I don't know where they got most of the ideas in this. So,
Oh, agreed, agreed. Uh, and the look of the characters, like I know that you gotta, you work within the parameters that you have, and I'm sure that there was a lot of elements to build in something that's a 3D based animation.
hmm.
But did no one look at it and go, well, that Cheshire Cat is going to cause, massive amounts of nightmares. Maybe we need to redefine it?
And like most of the characters, they've recast as animals, and those look fine. But the humans are super uncanny valley.
Oh yeah.
Alice especially, she's just so dead-eyed,
Yeah.
and it's like why not just make everybody animals? Because it that the not that they were good by any means, but the rest of the characters were fine.
Yeah.
It's just Alice was not. Mad
Yeah.
Hatter really wasn't.
No, not even remotely. I kept expecting him, like for some reason I thought of Tom Sawyer when I saw the Mad Hatter. That's all I could think. I don't know if it was the
I
hair maybe.
Yeah, kinda. Yeah, because he's sort of has that same vibe, probably similar age.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
Yeah. Well, and then the only animal that truly looked like it was a really good element was the dog. And I don't like I can't say why, like, but at the beginning I was thinking, oh hey, this looks like a semi decent animated piece, and all of a sudden it's like Alice shows up and you go, okay, forget what I said.
I thought he was ugly too, so
Yeah, he wasn't good, but he at least, I don't know, it felt like there was a little bit more like texture and rendering to him. Like everything else
maybe.
just kind of, God.
My thing was I thought he looked too lumpy.
Yeah. Too many onion and turnip tarts.
Turnip and tuna tarts, which
Oh, sorry.
why did they change it to turnip and tuna tarts? They're just tarts. They're just they're just regular fruit tarts. So why did they did they want the alliteration to make it turnip and tuna tarts? Like why did they change it to something horrendously gross sounding?
They wanted everybody to go, "Ooh, that's a gross combination," and get a laugh out of a kid, because between that and the god awful puns, that's definitely going to make it worth a kid's time.
Ugh.
Maybe that offsets the creepiness of the Cheshire Cat.
I don't know.
Like you said with the trial, she gets really tall and gets stuck in the underground castle, I guess, right?
I mean, the castle was apparently just a deck of playing cards, like made into a card castle, but all of the actual rooms were underground. So when she grows big, her head is like exploding out from underneath the castle.
Honestly though, not the worst use of Alice getting big in the four things that we watched.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
But that's a pretty low bar, but still.
Yeah.
Oh, the end dance sequence.
Okay.
She wakes up and she's like, "Oh, it was just a dream," and then Mad Hatter shows up and they start dancing, and then everybody else shows up and they all start dancing, and
Yeah, like
the
what's the point of making it a dream if everybody's going to show up anyway?
well,
Like,
it's subverting your expectations. You go, "Oh, well, she was just dreaming," and then people start showing up, and you're like, "It wasn't a dream! Yay! Now the Cheshire Cat can really be nightmare fuel."
so does Alice have teleportation powers because she didn't climb out of the hole where she went in. She just woke up.
He manifests every single one of them. She's like an X-Man.
Okay. I mean, other people have random weird powers that they didn't have in the story, so why
Well, I
not
mean,
Alice?
exactly. Well, I mean, the Hatter can, manifest, Tea Party stuff
Yeah.
and parts and things like that.
And wings that actually work.
Yeah, exactly. And that can attach and unattach. And though that song at the end, I feel like they were like, "Oh, we've got a real banger tune. This thing is gonna blow the lid off everything." And it's just like the most generic
Ugh.
elevator music.
Yeah, the music was not good in this.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll ask after we get done. I was curious what order you watch them in, but I'll ask after you get done, because I think that does affect which one do you remember, one way or the other.
Well, I mean, we could talk about it now because we're going to go on to the last one, but
If that's cool, yeah.
today I watched them in order of the shortest one, and I think I watched What's the Matter with Hatter after that, and then the one by Video Brincado, and then the 2010 Cinematronic version.
Okay. See, I watched What's the Matter Hatter, and then the Videotronic one, and then the 5 minute one, the little short one, and then the radio or the Cinematronic one.
Okay.
So the 40 minute ones, and then the 5 minute one, and then the radio drama one. So
Well, I don't know that watching them in any order has that much to do with it because I feel like the one that I've forgotten the quickest I watched second to last. So,
no, that's fair. That's fair.
but also I have watched the What's the Matter with Hatter and the 2010 Cinematronic one before. It's been years, but I have seen them before.
Oh, you
So
poor man. I'm so sorry.
that's why I said I can't believe I'm doing this to myself again.
Well, your listeners will definitely appreciate your sacrifice, and I definitely appreciate your sacrifice.
Thank you to Nicki for joining me for this episode. She'll be back next week to talk about one final terrible animated Alice. But in the meantime, if you want more from her, I'll have her links in the description below. Next week we're going to be watching another direct-to-video adaptation, but this one has just been dubbed the Cinematronic version by Alice in Wonderland fans. And it has basically become infamous for how absolutely lazy, cheap, and terrible it is. And like I said last week about What's the Matter with Hatter, if you told me a few years ago that I was going to be willingly watching this cinematic atrocity again, I would not have believed you. I truly had no intention of ever revisiting either of these things ever again, But sometimes life doesn't turn out the way we planned. Anyway, come back next week for one last terrible episode of Every Version Ever, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening.
Let your mind run free, imagination soaring. Soon you will believe life is not so boring. Great to see you here. This is just our calling to you. There's so many new things to do.